Hello, welcome to check out my new brew. It's a Storm Herald combo deck. So Storm Herald is a 3 mana 3/2 haster that says when it enters the battlefield, attach any number of aura cards from your graveyard to the battlefield to creatures you control, and then you have to exile them at the beginning of your end step, but you get to attack with a creature equipped on Eldrazi Conscription, which gets a +10/+10 trample and also Annihilator too. Okay, so let's check out the deck. So we are playing the standard Reanimator cards like Unmargrave and Unearth for Storm Herald, but also a lot of ways to discard Eldrazi Conscription if you draw it, and some card advantage like Ledger Shredder, Tainted Indulgence, Collective Brutality, also Thoughtseize sometimes can be used on yourself. Yeah, so the point of the deck is winning turn 3 with the Storm Herald, if possible. If not, there's a beatdown plan with Channelers, Shredders, and also Pyromancers, Storm Heralds, which also have haste. Okay, so as you can see, the biggest problem for the deck is definitely Graveyard Hate, as both Storm Herald and Dragon Rage Channeler are dependent on your graveyard, and also you play Unmargraves and Unearths in the main. There are some ways to fight Graveyard Hate with Totsu's main, with the Prismatic command for artifact-based hate, also Brazen Borrowers for Ley Lines of the Void, which I also play on my sideboard. A Brazen Borrower is very good with dealing with lane line, but also you can sometimes bounce Rest in Peace and do all the combo stuff in your end of turn and do all the combo stuff in your turn. We also have some Journal Logs, um, which can also counter some Graveyard Hate if playing first. And that's it. Some Magus of the Moons on sideboard. As we play an Earth in main, it can be pretty good. You can just Unmargrave it, and if you have an Earth in hand, you can Unmargrave for Magus, and then bring it back to play and win for free some of the games against Tron, Amulet, and similar. Okay, so that's it. Some fetches, some duels, some basics. Takenuma and Utawara. Utawara can also help with the Graveyard Hate. And okay, so that's it. I had very mixed results with the deck. I played around 8 or 9 leagues for now with this version, and I had 3 4-1 leagues. And 3 2 leagues, and also one 2 3 leagues, and one league was 0-2 drop. So very mixed results, but that's the reason why I think that there's still some work to be done on this list. Especially like making Shredder better in this deck with adding some more 1 mana spells, because sometimes you have an Earth in hand but don't have a creature in your graveyard, and turn 3 can't use your Unearth to trigger a Shredder, which could be very good play even if it's played on Channeler or another Shredder or anything really. I think this list can still be tweaked and better. My second version of this deck was simply black-red without shredders and tainted indulgence. Just playing salvage, faithless salvaging against instead of indulgence, and playing some Ragavans, which again instead of shredder. and I'm not sure, but that version may actually just be better. But I'm still working on. Both versions are still definitely work in progress. It's just been 8 or 9 leagues for now, and I'm kind of satisfied with build, but I often win 4 games in a row, just having every game a turn 3 combo. It seems like you will always have it. It's not possible to not have it. And then 4 games after that, I just can't do anything to dig it out. Just can't draw the conscription or herald and or Anmar Grave or anything. And so it's still definitely work in progress. But we will now go through the leagues. I played and we will watch the 2-4-1 leagues which were closest to 5-0, and just it it was really close to 5-0. One time my opponent had a very good hand, and the other time I just kind of misplayed. So we'll watch both of those, and yeah, let's go. So this league was pretty close to 5-0. Um, First game I played first, played my channeler, played my bubble, uh, graveyard the Totsies, tried to draw a card, the bubble to find the land. Unfortunately, I didn't find it, but it was okay. I still had one turn to try to find it because my hand was good with Tainted Indulgence and the Heralds, multiple Heralds in deck. So uh, without uh, without Graveyard Hate, main opponent actually can't win against this. And I even drew another conscription, so I attacked with Herald turn 4. It's not turn 3 because I skipped the land drop. But I succeeded to attack with Herald turn 4 for 23 damage with Annihilator 2. And that was it. And this kind of deck, my opponent don't really have a good answer for it. And if they do, if they kill it, they have to kill it before I attach the Eldrazi conscription if they want to bolt it or heat it. So if they do that, I just don't bring conscriptions back, and then I do it again next turn. So it's a pretty tough position for them. Okay, so that was game 1. Game 2, playing second. Had to move again. Okay, so this is a turn 3 win. If my opponent doesn't do anything, of course they hit something. Sorry, this was the first version of a deck where I played some heats on sideboard, so I brought it in against this opponent. Uh, you will see the list, the newest list again later. You will see there are no heats in that version. Luckily, my opponent attacked with hers here, so I was able to kill it, and that pretty much just finished the game for me. They didn't have a second. Uh, they didn't have a second Graveyard Hate, so I had an Earth in hand, and this is what I was saying last turn. So last time, so last game, Bolt and Heat is not especially good against this deck, and that's the reason why I was able to win many games, because usually people usually hold Bolt and think they're good, but I play 4 unearths in deck, and I draw a lot, dig a lot, and I can always go turn 4 Herald unearth, or just do it next turn. So my opponent definitely misplayed here when I talked with hers, but I think they're definitely thinking I'm not playing any removal main, and that's probably the reason why they attacked. But definitely wrong move anyway. So okay, I somehow stopped the video. My opponent sacked a token. I was able to play my brutality for 2 damage, kill the pyromancer, and attack for lethal, and that was it. Okay, that was game 1. Um, game 2, this is kind of a weird deck, a very weird hand for this deck, and but having brutality against these creature matchups, being able to discard the conscription can definitely be good. I decided to discard the conscription and kill Sentinel immediately. My opponent didn't have much, no creatures, just scales, authority jars, but no creatures. It's definitely not good for them. I was able to start conniving with my Shredder. I discarded the welding jar they didn't play, so they really didn't have much, and I just I was able to start digging. I had 2 conscriptions in graveyard. My opponent didn't have anything near lethal on table, so I was able just to put my channeler, start attacking with Shredder. Yeah, I had no problems in letting this damage through. My opponent was on 0 cards, and I was on a lot more life than them, and I had a lot of good cards in hand, and I found on my grave. Armor grade means I can kill them next turn if I draw a black source. There are no chance of my opponent killing me here, so again I just let damage. And there wasn't even a need for doing the Armor grade thing. I was able to put my Storm Herald into graveyard anyway and just return it immediately, and I had lethal with even without the Herald, so but they had spell bomb, but I had lethal anyway, so and even 2 conscriptions, so they can't bounce 2 creatures, and that was it. Game 1 win against Hardened Chaos. Game 2, a very bad hand against Esper Sentinel, and just being forced, especially because they had 2 of them, and I was able to just play my spells. I F6'd, so I even had to let them draw 3 cards. I didn't respond to them playing the 3rd Sentinel because I just yielded until end of turn. I did put my conscription into graveyard, but wasn't even any close to just finding Herald here. And with the 3 Esper Sentinels in their hand, it's a pretty game over for me. I did put the second conscription to graveyard. I did find Herald, but in this situation, it's very unlikely for me to be able to win, especially because they find the other spell bomb, and maybe I would be even I would win if they didn't find the spell bomb. because I had 23 haste damage, but I couldn't do anything about that, and they found another Zabas to have lethal this turn, and it was enough for them. I let them draw like 5 or 6 cards, and I was again pretty close to killing them, so it was pretty decent, but not enough for this game. Okay, game 3 playing first, it's definitely a lot different situation. I had the intelligence conscription. That's always a nice start hand. You just have to kind of and just having the unmarked grave on earth in hand means I can do it turn 3 if I find the land. And it's pretty powerful, and it's even hard for them to play their greater hate this soon. So I just needed the land. I think, yeah, I definitely found it. And then I just played on my grave. I find my Storm Herald, unearth my Storm Herald, put my Drowsy Conscription onto field, attack for 13, make them sack 2 permanents, which is really good because those 2 permanents were scales. And Jar, they also played the Shredder version, which I don't think it's. Yeah, something weird happened here. I accidentally most probably f6 through my turn 4, and I just attacked, and after attack I probably accidentally press f6 and completely skipped my turn, didn't even play land. I could have played the 2 shredders, trigger 1 shredder, do the ability, have 2 flyers for next turn, with 3 creatures in hand, and I definitely put myself in a hard spot. But I was able to win despite that. I had to let them draw 2, but I put 2 shredders into field, which was definitely a problem for them, but they missed, like, I think they missed 1 damage here, or maybe 2-3 damage. I blocked other automaton, shredder, dissecto on ballista, killed my shredder so I can't attack next turn, even had the 2 counters left on ballista to kill Storm Herald. They had to do it in response to the ability, and I had plenty of unearths in hand, and I again uh, succeeded to win, even after that accidental skipping of my turn 4, which is like very bad against hardened skills deck. So somehow decided succeeded to win this game despite that. Okay, so was that game 3? Yeah, that was game 3. That's it. So we will now see the game 4. Sorry, match 3. Okay, so pretty decent hand. On my grave turn, that's his turn 1 to deal with any possible answer they could have, and just on my grave turn 2 means they have to hold a counter spell, and with me just having another Totsis in hand, it's very easy for me to win this. This turn I even drew Brutality, so I just played another grave. I got rid of the counterspell. I wanted to have the both conscriptions into graveyard, so when I tried to do the Herald stuff, I have combo immediately, and I did have it, and that was it. They didn't have the Solitude is their only answer in this situation, and they didn't have it, and it was a small possibility they had it, but it was enough to win. Game 2, playing second, had to mulligan the one lander, had to mulligan the had to mulligan to 5, but had a pretty decent hand. Just Totsis turn 1 again, Unmarked Grieve turn 2 for a Drowsy Conscription, even drew the Storm Herald immediately. I discarded their Solitude turn 1, so they had a pretty weak hand with Ephemerate and bunch of lands. They probably kept it because they had the Solitude Ephemerate thing, and unfortunately didn't drew my third land this time, but my opponent wasn't able to find another answer. I even could just play the Pyromancer here, discard both conscriptions, and they even killed one conscription, but I put them to 4 life, just having a 3/3 on the field and Pyromancer next turn. They played Pyro. I discarded the rest of the conscriptions and drew multiple good cards like 2 Shredders, Channeler. That's all very good when your opponent is on 2 life. So a really hard time for my opponent. They did have Onat, but they didn't have Fetch in this situation. I attacked with everything because I had an Earth in my hand. If they if they have something, so they block Pyro, I could just unearth Pyro, stuff like that. But just having the Shredder and then not having it was a lethal attack, and that was it. Pretty nice and quick win against Cool Ronat. Okay, so that was match 3, and we will now see the match 4. Okay, so this is definitely a cool hand. Just 2 channelers. 2 channelers. It's a very good start. I think I put a bubble into graveyard, which I think it wasn't a very good decision. But anyway, I had Herald in hand, so just wanted to play my Unmarked Grave turn 2 anyway. It was a living end deck, which means they have very little answers to turn 3 Herald when I'm playing first. So it's pretty impossible for them to do anything in this situation. I killed both of the lands, and that's it. Okay, so when playing second, it's definitely okay. What happened? When playing second against the Herald, definitely a bit harder. But I kept a weird hand with 3 Totsis, and I drew into Magus, which is pretty good against my opponent. This was my opponent's hand, so nothing special. I discarded the Colossus, so they can kill the Magus. I was in a pretty cool position at this point. They didn't have anything in hand, just 1 Force of Vigor and 1 land, but they top decked Violent Outburst, and that was it. Okay, so nothing I could do here. I had decent hand, decent try to win this. Okay, so I kept this hand. It's a 1 lander, but I had a bubble and Totsis and also Leyline, and I immediately Totsis then removed the endurance. out of their hand. Rest of their hand was Grief, Curator, Outburst. So they just played Grief on my Shredder. I was able to cast another Tootsies. They revealed just another Grief and some lands in hand. And my hand also was pretty bad at this point. But I had my Leyline on the field and I had plenty of good draws. Okay, so I had Conscription into Graveyard, I had Unearth, just needed to find my Herald, even if they kill it. I decided to first cast the Channeler here. I could have also cast the Shredder first, and then cast the Ray Channeler to get the Connive. That would probably be better, but I kind of was too fast with my plays, and I didn't think it too good. Didn't think it through too good. So my opponent had I removed everything good from their hand, and the Leyline of the Void did the rest. And I had two good beaters on the field. They probably drew the third living end, and they just conceded the game. That was it. That was game 3, right? Yeah. Okay. So I was doing pretty good so far this league. And last game, I think it was the Murktide. And I started pretty good. Good hand, like Channeler, Tootsies, Herald in hand. This can turn out to be pretty good. So they had. I was even able to play. I even had Build Brutality, so I was able to see their hand. Their hand was a charm iteration Ragavan Bolt. I decided to remove the charm. They found, unfortunately, Mishra Bubble with Ragavan Dash, and I removed the iteration from their hand. They did draw the Snapcaster, so they had pretty decent draws, but uh, didn't have the lands. I found my Pyromancer, which I was able to play here. It was pretty important. I didn't have anything very good, but just drawing two more cards, getting closer to a combo. It was pretty important here. I discarded the color here because it was like the most problematic for me at this point. So they just put the Butterskull into play. I had to play my Pyro. Unfortunately, drew into Conscription, but I was able to block the Germ for 2 turns. They did find iteration, third land. They're holding a Bolt in hand. I was able to discard. I drew into Brutality to discard my Conscription. Unfortunately, they had the Subtlety here. It was a pretty good draw for them. Yeah, definitely pretty good draws from my opponent. Definitely, and I was able to just play my Herald, but it was too little too late, and nothing I could have done. But I think this was a pretty close game. Them having the subtlety there was just devastating. Just who plays subtlety main, it's very rare. And if I done it next turn, I would be able to survive on 1 life and then exile my Pyro if I didn't draw anything. What was my draw? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, won the game 2, and game 3 was like so close. I had the thing turn 3, but my opponent had multiple. My opponent had multiple treasure tokens from Ragavan, so they were able to have a lot of mana fast, and they were playing first, so it was a problem. I was stuck on one mana here, but I did find a second land in a pretty good at a pretty good timing, so I was able to play my Storm Herald just as a 3/2 haster to kill the fairy. I also had a decent hand with Pyro. Pyro is definitely very good in these situations. Unfortunately, they had Counterspell, but Unearthing Hand is pretty good. I think I misplayed the next turn. I misplayed. I didn't. I think I misplayed one time. I was in a pretty good position here with Storm Herald and Art in hand, and Conscription into Graveyard. Okay, so they cast standing here to kill my token. Pretty weak play from my opponent. They didn't have much. So I was able to cast my Storm Herald with an Earth in hand, which is GG in this situation. And so it was time for game 3 for 5-0. And I kept a decent hand, like having Indulgence turn 1. But unfortunately didn't have an answer to Ragavan. If I had like Collective Brutality in this position, it would be, I think I would easily win the game. I don't know, maybe I know I misplayed something. Maybe the misplay was like, maybe I removed the brutalities from the main or something like that. I'm not sure right now. Can't remember it exactly. But I still was in a very good position. Had the Shredder here, and Indulgence and Grave and Heat and Conscription into Graveyard, so I decided to go for it. Although my opponent had 2 mana there. Maybe I shouldn't have done it. Maybe I should have just played the Shredder, wait for my opportunity. But it was like very tempting to go for it, and if I succeeded to go for it, it would be over. So it's really too bad. Too bad it didn't work. I had a good attempt to. Unfortunately, I played the Totsis, but they had the Caldra and Subtlety in hand, which was enough for them to win this turn. And that was it, game 3. I feel it was a pretty close game. I could have probably played better, definitely. Not just trying to go for it turn 3. If I didn't try to go for it, I'm pretty confident I'll be able to win that. But yeah, my opponent had the 2 treasures, and they had counterspell in hand. But they also play subtlety, so I thought maybe if they're counting on subtlety, I will trick them with Unearth on my grave, but it unfortunately didn't work, and that was a loss game 5 in the first league that I feel that could have easily been the 5-0. Okay, so we'll check one more league that ended in 4-1. Okay, it was this. It was this league. Okay, so my opponent playing Grief, Sanctum turn 1, Living End, kind of hard to play against Living End second. In this position, I don't have much choice but to play my Shredder and just do the ability when they do the Cascade to at least discard something good like Channeler, bring it back. They didn't bring back much, just one Widower, Grief, and Shardless, which is pretty bad um, in this position. And I was able to dig for my conscription, attack for 3, and had lethal next turn. Unfortunately, my opponent played the agent as a blocker, which meant I even drew the Totsis, so I was sure I'm able to combo. My opponent played agent as a blocker. So it was pretty bad for me because I had 14 damage with them blocking. But fortunately, like sometimes you have to play until the end. My opponent sucked their blocker and lost the game. So kind of a lucky win, game 1 there. But playing second against Living End, it's definitely hard. When playing first, I think there's a pretty decent chance of just comboing turn 3, as you could see in previous league. When I just killed Living End turn 3. Unfortunately, they had Procedure here, but they probably kept a weird hand with Leyline, Procedure, and didn't have the thing. Didn't have the thing. They also didn't have anything in graveyard, so I was able to just cast my Magus of the Moon. And they had basic, so there was no reason for them to deal with my Magus. They didn't have much in graveyard, again, just the Colossus and the Shardless. So it wasn't so much a big deal. It meant it's still pretty winnable. Just have to find my combo, yeah, so... I was forced to attack here, unfortunately. I was able to play my Magus again. And play another blocker for Colossus. So I'm still kind of into game. I was AFK for a long time, so I had to. Alright, sorry to my opponent. I didn't find anything that could help me survive here, so that was it. That was it. So I had a decent hand with Gravy Hate, Leyline in starting hand. So I kept this hand because of the Magus, and I also I could have also just go the Unmarked Grave at this turn and just play the Storm Herald next turn and win, but that was I don't know, maybe I should have done that. But I decided to go for the Magus this turn. I think if they have some subtlety, they'll probably use it here. And just if I resolve the Magus, it's very hard for them to beat that. So they have to have another Sky Turtle or Tawara. They forced my unmarked grave here. And then I luckily didn't play anything here, because if I did play something, I would probably lose the game. But my opponent went Tavara end of turn, cycled another creature, and tried to go for Shardless. But I had my Dragon Lock and even got the Shredder ability, and I was able to just force that and use my Storm Herald to kill them immediately this turn. My opponent said they played poorly, probably because of I don't know what they had in hand this game, but probably because of that misplay game one, and that was another win for me. So I was doing pretty good this time. I also I have to say that I had a lot of previous version of this deck were pretty bad, and I had the terrible results with a lot of versions. And this version, this Grixis version, performed the best. And them just playing Renan 6 turn 2 means that they have Solitude or they're dead, and they didn't have Solitude, so I definitely go for it, and they conceded. That's it. They have to sack both lands. It's even if they Solitude it after, it's a game over for them. Okay, so you could see me winning against 4-color Ronut multiple times on turn 1. Sometimes it's easy like that, sometimes not so easy. Definitely the Totsis and the Brutalities help here a lot, just to remove that Solitudes, remove the counter spells, and even kill the Reefs. Can be very important. Also, just another outlet to discard my Drazi conscription. I decided just to hold my Tainted Indulgence here, and I was expecting them playing the Reef. And I saw that they're drawing another Solitude, and fortunately I drew into another Toxis, which meant that I was able to deal with the second Solitude. And I just wanted to play my Brutality to kill that reef as soon as possible. They were holding subtlety here, but part of why this deck is good, you can sometimes just do it with Unearth, and subtlety means nothing, and sometimes subtlety is obviously best card in a deck against me. They played subtlety to just try to sack it instead of a land, but just being on 3 life and not finding any other solution, I tried to go for it. Played my Shredder, played my Herald to connive here, and attacked for 3 little damage. That was it. Okay, so 2-0 again pretty quickly. Not all leagues went this good like this league. A lot of other leagues, I had my opponents. They had pretty good hands. Okay, so brutality is definitely very cool in this kind of situation. Unfortunately, they had another Ragavan, so they were able to pressure me real good here. I wasn't able to find my third land to play the Pyro, which would definitely be the best play here and maybe the only one that gets me to win in this situation. But they didn't find my own channeler, so that was game over for me. I'm kind of stuck on lands and not just doing much, and opponent hitting very good. I boarded in the Borrowers. Okay, so as I said, that 5-0 league was just slightly different sideboard to the first one I showed you. This league is the sideboard that you saw at the beginning of this video. Okay, there were just a few small changes, nothing too important, so I decided to just go indulgence immediately. I tried to find my conscription. I did find the unmarked grave, which is pretty solid. So just holding Storm Herald, two Storm Heralds in this position. Pretty good. My opponent decided to play my Tainted Intelligence, which meant that game is over for them. They definitely played that badly, and I was just able to attack with my Storm Herald, made them sack 2 lands, which is pretty difficult for them and unwinnable in this position. This was it. So it was time for game 3. So against this deck is pretty good when opponent hits something good with Dragon and plays it and they tap out. Okay, so I played Totsis turn 1. This was my opponent hand, so just Ledger, Murktide and some lands. I decided to go for Bolt because they weren't able to um, play Murktide real soon, and I had the thing turn 3, but unfortunately they had the Archmage Charm here. Okay, so that was definitely a bit harder for me. They had just 2 draws from my Tutsis, so it wasn't that much chance they would have something. I decided to discard 2 lands here because I already had 4, but my opponent was able to go for Murktide here. I was able to return my Eldrazi conscription, attack immediately, and put myself into decent position where my opponent, it's not easy for them to attack me because I have lethal swing back, and I also discarded their last card in their hand, and my opponent did a very weird play. They drew into Ragavan, the other card was a land, so they had just Ragavan in hand, and they decided to dash the Ragavan and just attack with everything when I know they don't have anything in hand. So they were just left on 4 life for me to kill them. So it was very bad play from my opponent. I can't imagine why would they play it like this, but it was very easy for me to win this thanks to my opponent. Okay, so kept the weird one here, no black mana, so pretty weird, but a Shredder and possibly a turn 3 Shredder Channeler were definitely fine, but I played against Dredge, and couldn't find the black mana. If I had the black mana, I would be in a pretty decent position here. I would be able to dig for my conscription and unearth my Herald. So that would definitely be a win. There's no point in just seeing the rest of this game. I kept playing because there were some possibilities of me finding multiple conscriptions, but no black mana. That was it. Okay, so game 2, I play 4 Leyline of the Voids inside, and they're pretty good in this matchup. So Tainted Indulgence, Eldrazi, Conscription, it's a pretty good start. It means you just have to find your Storm Herald, which can sometimes be easy and sometimes impossible. And that's the reason why this deck is not better, because sometimes you just can't find that Herald. Like, sometimes you play 4 Tainted Indulgence, sometimes you play so much card draw with Pyromancers, you unearth the Pyromancers, like do all that stuff, and nothing happens, just the Herald can be found. Okay, so it was pretty much a game where for them I had Leyline of the Void, multiple counterspells, discard in hand. I was just waiting to find some beater. Okay, they conceded at this point after I found a beater. And turn 3, I pretty much, when playing second, depend on drawing the ley line. So I went to 5 cards until I find the ley line. Also kept Totsis, which can be decent. Discard their reunion. I did discard the Thrilling Discovery, so they were left in hand with just their creatures that are not very good. Okay, so I was just able to start digging. I had multiple indulgence. They didn't have any clock, so I finally found the Margrave. I played my channeler, found my conscription, and them not having the Graveyard Hate here, it's pretty much over. Yeah, after you do this, you could see that you never lose. Okay, so that was it. I think that was game 3, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was. Okay, Necro Hero, and again, game 5, loss. Again, unfortunate loss, game 5 for 5 also. I think these two games were pretty close, and I think I was pretty close to 5-0 here. It was hardened scales, and I did win against scales before, and they didn't have a good hand here, and I even started with a win. I had multiple Totsis here. They didn't have much, just 2 Ravagers. I was able to kill the first one, also the second one. Just drain them and start attacking with my channeler. So it's kind of the okay. So they did draw into Hangerback and Zabaz, which is pretty decent. But I found the Margrave, I found the Herald. I was able to attack immediately. This was turn 5. Attack with 2 conscriptions and pretty good start. I was really hoping for 5-0 here after winning the game 1 like this, and already winning against the hardened scales before. and I did have a pretty good hand. So it was a Tootsie's turn 1, Tainted Indulgence turn 2, so it's like the best you can have. You can have a better start, you can, but it's a pretty decent hand. My opponent also didn't have much, just a couple of ballistas, zabas, no hard pressure, definitely. Even had 2 indulgence here. I had kind of, maybe I didn't have to play the brutality here. They were able to put 3 tokens on 3 counters on their token, which was pretty good for them. I probably misplayed. Yeah, that definitely misplayed here. I should have gone for Tainted Indulgence, end of turn. They even didn't find the Graveyard Hate. Yeah, as I said, sometimes you just can't find the Herald, or I found it here, but it wasn't enough. I needed 2 conscriptions, and wasn't able to survive the turn. Yeah, unfortunately. I wasn't even able to discard a card with Indulgence here. If I was able to discard the Herald, I could have gone. I didn't have enough black mana. Yeah, didn't have enough black mana to go Tainted Indulgence, Unmarked Grave for another conscription, and then the Unearth. Even if I did do that, they had Ballista to kill the Herald in response to ability. So, unfortunately, lost the game too. I feel I had a pretty good hand and maybe could have done more somehow. Okay, so game 3 drew into some sideboard cards. They didn't work out so great. I was also again struggling on black mana, and as you could see, the black mana is the most important here. So I just had to. I couldn't find it. If I could find black mana, this game would be so much different. I would have just be able to play my spells differently. Petty Theft is pretty good against these hangerbacks and also against their construct tokens. Finally, I found the Polluted Delta and had Prismari in hand, which is pretty decent in this position. Uh, just discarding discarding 2 conscriptions and killing their Ravager. In this position, pretty good. That means I just had to find my Herald or even just find my Unmarked Grave. So if I find Unmarked Grave, if I find Herald, I immediately win. And yeah, my opponent put some counters on Hangerback, which meant that I have to put some blocker on the field. I even okay, so you can see this. I this is so close. Okay, I played the Tootsies, and this was my opponent hand. They already had 1 Galvanic Blast into Graveyard. I'm not sure if they played 4, so the only thing my opponent could have in their hand and not to lose this was 2 Galvanic Blasts. And I discarded 1, and they forced them to use another. And I forced them to use the another so I can try to unearth next turn. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to discard my third conscription, and they had the hanger back in hand, so kind of everything kind of worked perfectly for them. If I was able to somehow discard the third one, or if they didn't have the hanger back to sack for to get 8 tokens, and that would be it. I even succeeded to do it, and yeah, so pretty tough, pretty tough losses, definitely. They just were left with 3 tokens, so if I was on just a bit more life, I could have continue playing my spells, my pour over, and try to draw something. Yeah, but unfortunately, that was it. So that were the two closest leagues I played to getting 5-0. I had a few more 5-1, 4-1 leagues, only one with this version. So only three, 4-1s with this version, but I had 4-1 with the previous versions. Uh, but these two leagues were kind of definitely the closest one to getting the 5-0. So I wanted to show you the both leagues, and I think they were pretty exciting. And you can see the deck works, but also sometimes struggles. I think one problem is Ledger Shredder is not kind of used perfectly in this deck because I kind of miss a few more 1 mana spells, and sometimes all of this digging, which I have a lot, is just not enough to find the combo. Okay, so but pretty interesting leagues, pretty good games, and you can see the deck finds the combo pretty consistently. And turn 3 win is pretty decent. I also played a version with the Hedron Crab that made it possible for a turn 2 win with Unearth and multiple crabs or just one crab sometimes. But this version it was the best working so far, but I think there's still a lot of job to be done here to make this into better deck. Uh, Also, adding some Ragavans maybe here is an option. Adding Ragavans to make that plan B more efficient, or just making this blue red deck, just ditching the shredders, ditching the indulgence, playing Fateless Salvagings, playing Ragavans, playing one more brutality to keep the number of cards that lets you discard this conscription and a good number. And I think that could maybe work even better than this. And that's what I'll try next. Okay, so sideboard was decent. I still don't think the sideboard is perfect, but I probably need some more graveyard heat, and I'll have to think about it a lot, what to put there. But that's it. Hope you enjoyed the brew. Hope you enjoyed the games, and they were pretty fun for me. And that's it. That's the video. That's the brew. That were the games. I was really excited to play this. Sometimes disappointed a bit when it was not working as I wanted it to work, but I'm slowly getting to the working version, and this is maybe close to final version, but I think some more changes will have to be done here to make it more consistent, make it or make just the plan B better. I'll just have to think about it some more. And that's it. Goodbye for today.